This week's edition of WWE Smackdown has to be one of the most highly anticipated editions of the show ever, if you consider the fallout from SummerSlam and the question marks around Becky Lynch and Brock Lesnar. That's two compelling hooks to tune in right there. What curveballs will WWE Smackdown throw our way soon? We've got our Booker hats on, and we welcome you to note down the swerves that would make the show more compelling. Do you think any of the ones we've outlined in this video could happen this week? Number 5. Paul Heyman makes the biggest decision of his career on WWE Smackdown. Brock Lesnar is advertised to appear on this week's WWE Smackdown after his stare-down with Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. Paul Heyman seemed to be in shock as he saw the past and present collide in the middle of the ring. He will have to make a big decision this week. Which side is he on? It is all too likely that Paul Heyman will indeed side with Roman Reigns, considering that Brock Lesnar has probably returned as a babyface. Heyman just seems like too much of a hyena and a deferential manager to be associated with a babyface right now. It will be interesting to see whether Lesnar can cut promos without Heyman's help, but the few times we've seen him with a microphone have given us some incredible moments. There's every chance that on WWE Smackdown, Heyman will set the Usos loose upon Brock Lesnar, proving his allegiance to the tribal chief once and for all. Whether or not they're in the mood to fly, Jimmy and Jay may be forced to travel to Suplex City at that point. Number 4. Becky Lynch brings a friend to WWE Smackdown to take on Bianca Belair. When WWE Smackdown star Becky Lynch arrives on Smackdown, the pop is certain to be thunderous. However, if rumors are to be believed, she will be positioned as a heel moving forward. Obviously, Bianca Belair now has to work her way back into the WWE Smackdown Women's Championship picture again. Could Becky Lynch bring a henchwoman, such as Mia Yim or even Liv Morgan, that Belair has to defeat before she gets to the big boss who holds the gold? Number 3. Otis steps up to the Intercontinental Champion. Where does Nakamura go after having defeated Apollo Crews? Otis could definitely step up from the WWE Smackdown roster. He is a viable challenger because he has been presented as an absolutely impenetrable brick wall. Nakamura and Otis could wage many wars, with Boogs and Gable spurring their WWE Smackdown roster mates on from the outside. Even getting involved physically, it will elevate Otis to the next level, something the company missed out on during his babyface run. Number 2. Brand new champions are crowned on WWE Smackdown this week. It's safe to say that WWE Smackdown superstars Shotzi and Nox have earned themselves a shot at the Women's Tag Team Championships through their incredible performances. Could they be fast-tracked into the title picture this week, resulting in a stunning title change on WWE Smackdown? Shotzi and Nox could then wage wars with both Natalya and Tamina, as well as the team of Carmella and Zelina Vega. Going forward, WWE Smackdown's women's division should be far more interesting, and this development might be a great first step in that regard. Number 1. Seth Rollins is faced by a being from the past. Edge has tapped into the vampire in him, which has granted him the gift of eternal life. How else do you explain the fact that he had one of the best matches of his career in 2021? Could he bring former WWE superstar Gangrel to SmackDown to further haunt Seth Rollins? Maybe in time, Edge and Gangrel could even go after the WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Samoa Joe has opened up about WWE NXT and how Vince McMahon feels about the brand. Joe thinks that McMahon sees NXT as the future of WWE. In his recent appearance on So Catch by Hell 2, Joe was asked about Vince McMahon's opinion on NXT. The new NXT champion feels that the WWE chairman is the biggest proponent of the brand. I think he perceives it as the future of his company. I think that he's heavily invested in it. It's funny, you know, I read all this stuff that I hear from people. At the same time, he's probably the biggest proponent of its existence, and much of what has happened in it thus far. NXT, it's the future of WWE, and it's a big reason why I'm excited to be kind of associated with it. Because I get to delve into the future, said Samoa Joe. Joe is excited about working with new stars on NXT and introducing them to the world in the future. He also dismissed suggestions of him possibly returning to Impact Wrestling, but stated that there's a possibility of him making the move to Raw or SmackDown in the future. Samoa Joe was surprisingly released by WWE earlier this year as part of the company's budget cuts, but Triple H brought him back and he re-debuted on NXT in June. He was initially an enforcer for NXT General Manager William Regal, but then returned to action after a feud with Karrion Kross. He had his first match in over a year this past weekend when he faced Kross for the NXT Championship and won it for the third time. Samoa Joe has returned not just as an in-ring performer, but also as part of NXT's talent development department. Universal Champion Roman Reigns had a message for a kid who couldn't hold back his tears after watching the Tribal Chief defeat John Cena at SummerSlam 2021. At SummerSlam 2021, Roman Reigns met WWE legend John Cena in the main event. The contest ended with Reigns hitting a devastating spear on Cena and pinning him to retain his Universal title. The official Twitter handle of BR Wrestling posted a video of a young fan watching Cena's loss at the hands of Roman Reigns. The kid can be seen going through a roller coaster of emotions in a matter of seconds. As soon as Reigns picks up the win, the kid starts crying and the clip cuts off. Roman Reigns noticed the clip and sent a message to the John Cena fan. Here's what the tribal chief had to say to the kid. "Your tribal chief keeps his promises, kid. #man of my word." Roman Reigns has opened up about possibly competing under a wrestling mask during his career. Speaking on Sportico's Business Beyond the Game series, the WWE Universal Champion was asked if he ever thought about competing under a mask during his in-ring career. The tribal chief revealed that while his brother Rosie wore one during his time in WWE, it's something he never considered doing. "You know, and I think there's some traditions within the wrestling culture that come along with the mask wearing," said Roman Reigns. "You know, obviously, our luchadors within Lucha Libre, and the Mexican influence with that style of professional wrestling all the way to our mythical characters, not necessarily an Undertaker, but a Kane and different even superhero characters like my brother, Matthew Anoa'i, and the Hurricane back in the day. So, for me, it was just about presenting myself and making myself that superstar. Not necessarily the character, but finding that character within to be able to display that charisma and that personality that I wanted," said Reigns. Masks have been a significant part of the wrestling heritage for as long as pro wrestling has been in existence. They're even considered sacred in some wrestling cultures, especially in Lucha Libre, with names such as Rey Mysterio and Mil Mascaras being recognized as two of the best masked wrestlers in the history of the industry. Roman Reigns is currently the face of WWE and the biggest heel in the entire company. He's the top champion on Friday Night Smackdown, and he's been dominating the brand for an entire year. The head of the table, however, feels that there's only so much one can do in the ring, and he believes that there's more to life than what happens inside the squared circle. "Yeah, you have to be smart about it," said Roman Reigns. "We all want to believe that, you know, as I'm not portraying the Superman character. Sometimes as men, we have to remind ourselves that you're not Superman. You can't do this forever. You can't fall down for the rest of your life. There's gonna come a point where you just don't move as quick, you're not as strong as you used to be, and you don't recover nearly as fast as you used to," revealed Roman Reigns. He went on to add what he envisions himself should he have to give up his career within the ring. "And I would like to save a few miles on that calculator there, and if I can continue to entertain, and be a part of the creative process, and be able to dive into different characters and be a part of a production that creates that escapism within the big screen, then I would love it, or a TV show or something like that. It'd be phenomenal, but for me to think that I can do this forever, the very best, even The Undertaker, in my opinion the greatest WWE superstar of all time, nobody's done it longer at the elite level that he's done it," Roman added. Roman Reigns recently scored a massive win over John Cena at WWE SummerSlam. He was then interrupted by the returning Brock Lesnar, who he will most likely begin feuding with. Would you like to see Roman Reigns wrestle under a mask? Where do you see the tribal chief heading once he is done with WWE? Sound off in the comments section below.